My name is Layne, and in case you don't know me, I help Jen co-host these live chats and give information about how to become a professional organizer. If you are already doing it, ways to improve your process, or if you're interested in doing it, where to start, how to do it, and how to talk with other people who are also doing it, because usually it's an industry where you're working alone and you don't have coworkers. So this is just an awesome resource to collaborate with other like-minded creative individuals that get it. They get what you're doing in the home. They get what it's like to work with clients, specifically clients that are unorganized that need a professional organizer. Okay, yay, we already have 11 viewers. That's awesome. Hello to everyone that is saying hello, to all our usual girls. I see Helena, I haven't seen you live when I've been on, so this is awesome to have you on here. Darren's here. Dawn is here as always. Dawn, this is for you, my girl. I always start with a lip gloss because you commented on it that one time, so now it's forever. Dee is here. Thank you so much for joining us. Rocio, Jennifer, Fawn is here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on your Tuesday night. Jen is here. Oh, and she says she loves the light. Okay, that's great because I have really rigged some kind of system here, and from that side of the phone, I am pretty much blinded. So give me a minute. When I look down to see your comments, my eyes are going to have to adjust for a minute because I am hosting this Facebook Live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm on vacation with my fiance, Jeremiah, and you will notice an Adobe wall behind me. So I'm in a really cool vacation rental property, and we're loving it here, and thankfully they have Wi-Fi. So thank you for all the love. Excuse me. I just ate a snack, and I think it's hanging out in my teeth. While we wait for other people to join, I'm going to tell you what I'm drinking because that's what we do. This is a rosé, Malbec rosé, and it's because I was intimidated by all the other wines at Whole Foods tonight in a city that I don't know, at a grocery store that I don't know the aisles, because I always go to the same product at the same store because I'm a creature of habit, and so I grabbed something pink that I knew would be delicious. Okay. So tonight I am talking about 3 ways I've improved my client process, and because I'm not great at being succinct with information, I've also included a million other things. So there'll be a lot of side notes that have to do with my 3 main topics. Each one has a couple subcategories, so I can just sort of break those things down for you, because I've been doing this for 6 years now, and you better believe there are a lot of things I've chosen to improve about my process by trial and error. A lot of it has been through things that I've learned in this group, things I learned in the masterclass, even through trial and error of some things that I wasn't doing correctly. I knew something wasn't working well, but I didn't always know what the solution was. And for me, the masterclass is what really pulled everything together and made sense of it, because I went A, B, and C are true because I've experienced them already in client homes and in certain struggles that I have with running a business. And I'm able to apply them here instead of just going, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to start my business. I don't know what kind of issues I'm going to run into. I've already run into them. I've been able to tell you what my problems are, how I solve them on my own. The masterclass, like I said, already put a lot of that together too. And then this platform has been amazing for people that are wanting to get started and really gather all of the information ahead of time. Do you need to know everything you need to know when you walk into a client's house? No, because first and foremost, you're an organized person and you're going to be able to address their mess right away. However, managing a client and keeping business and getting return business and dealing with all the other shizah that happens in every single session is what you need to be prepared for. Maybe not for the very first session. If you need to just get in the door, you can fake it till you make it. Or actually, I just heard recently, faith it till you make it. So faith, like believing in the fact that you can do it, because you already can. You're already talented in this industry. You're already talented in the way that your mind operates, that you're called towards this industry. So faith it till you make it. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to say hi to a couple of more people because we got some wonderful people. Lillian is here. Hi, Lillian. Becky's here from Smoky, Oregon. Her little town is surrounded by forest fires, so it's very smoky. I'm so sorry about that. I hope that your area is safe, protected from any of the danger. I'm very happy to have evacuated Texas, but my heart is with every single person in Texas, especially those in the Houston area and those that were hit by Hurricane Harvey. If you're not involved with that, jump on our Facebook group, and there are a lot of people in our group that are from Houston that are evacuating and suffering some devastating losses to their home, or know people who are suffering devastated losses. And just emotional support, I think, goes a really long way for people to be able to talk about it in a group where they're being heard, because I'm a huge fan of therapy, and I think being able to express your emotion to somebody who genuinely cares or shows an interest is very healing. So there are a lot of people in our group that are going through that. If you have the time, please go through the posts and try to offer them some emotional support. Melanie is here, and her comment on that is, OMG, I made it. So I'm so glad you're here, Melanie. I'm glad you made it too. And like I said, I'm in Santa Fe, so I'm glad I made it, because I was like, what time zone am I in? Okay, what time does Jen go on? What time do I usually go on in Texas? And what time is it in Santa Fe? But here I am. It is 7 o'clock in Santa Fe. I go on at 8 when I'm in Texas, and Jen goes on at 9. So I figured it out. Thankfully, I'm here on time. Mare Bear is here. I'm so glad. And Noelle. Hi, Noelle. It's nice to see you. I'm glad that you're here. So I guess I'll go ahead and jump in with, like I said, what our topic is 3 ways that I've improved my client process. So I'm going to give you the 3 main categories of what I'm going to talk about tonight, and then I'll jump into the subcategories, and as is the story of my life, I'll chase some rabbits, and I'll get distracted by glitter, and I'll have a sip of wine, and probably make some inappropriate jokes, and throw in some vulgar language from time to time, as is my style. Okay. Mary also says, hey, love the Tuesday night chats. I love them too, girl. They're a lot of fun. They're fun to look forward to participating in. They're really fun to host. And it's just fun to feel, for me, less alone in this industry by having you badass women to bounce ideas off of, and to say things where people comment and they're like, oh my gosh, I know exactly, da da da. Or yes, that's a struggle I've had in my business too, and here's how I overcame it, or here's a success I'm having, and for someone else to get the success because they've also experienced it. It's awesome to share in each other's joy and each other's sorrow, struggles, whatever we're having. I love this platform, and that we are able to come together from literally all across the world. This is an international group, and that is so amazing. Emily's here, my girl. Love Emily. She's always asking the best questions that have never crossed my mind, and I am more equipped because of you, Emily. Sarah's here. She's a girl from Austin. That's where I'm from, or where I currently live. I'm not really from there, but that's where I live now, and that's where I have my business. Natalie is here. Azanique is here. And Azanique, I follow on Snapchat, and I saw that she posted a picture. It looked like her closet collapsed, and that happened to me in my guest closet. My sister was staying with me for the summer and doing an internship in Austin, and her entire closet, it was really long, and the turns out the closet rod was just not even supported in studs. It was in very inadequate anchors. But the entire thing collapsed, and we had to have it redone, and that's what it looked like happened to Azanique's closet. The good news is you get to reorganize and possibly redesign too. Stephanie's here. Yay, it's her first Facebook Live. And your daughter fell asleep just in time. Well, thank God. I love when the stars align, and I'm really glad that you get to have your full and focused attention here. If for whatever reason she does wake up, the replays are amazing. I love that you can comment in real time. And we're really glad to have you here. Okay, Azanique died inside when her closet fell. I know, because it's going to be chaos for a couple of days, and I know. I get it. I think we all get it. So that's nice to just have a personality that gets it. Ashley is here too. Okay, so I'm going to jump in now because I've said I'm going to jump in 4 times and I got distracted, and you know how that goes. So my 3 main points of how I've improved my client process are tracking information, and there's a lot of things that fall under the category of information. Time management is my second one. My third one is communication. So under tracking information, I have it looks like 4 or 5 subcategories. Under time management, I have about 7 or 8. And under communication, I have 10. So they're all really important, and some of them we'll fly through and just touch on, but I think communication, this was kind of an accident. It's just kind of how I was writing out my notes, but communication is like just your most important issue here, because we are creating a personalized service for our clients. And when you can communicate with them and make them feel like you get them and that you're not leaving them, and you're with them every step of the way, that ultimately is what's going to maintain your business in terms of the relationship side of it. That's what's going to turn over new clients. That's what's going to create new business for you. Got to have all your other ducks in a line too, but communication is key to creating your relationships. So I'm going to save the best for last, and let's start with tracking information. So from the very beginning, I would, and a lot of people that are just starting off might be doing this too. You go into your consult and you're probably super nervous, sweating bullets, wear extra deodorant. That's a side tip. I was really nervous a lot for my first consults, and a lot of it was because it wasn't that I didn't believe in myself. I was worried about them believing in me, which is actually still a reflection of not believing in yourself. And that took me a while to understand. Like, I've got to really 100% believe in that I'm the expert, that I'm capable, and that I'm going to be able to help this client. And then when you really believe that, you will exude that, and your client will believe it too. You will lead the consult. You will express multiple times throughout the consult, or you'll not express, but you'll show that you're the expert and that you're confident and that this isn't the first unorganized closet you've seen, or pantry, or, you know, whatever. Fill in the blank there. So when I was nervous for my consults, I would go in, and I also don't want to forget anything. So I've got this detailed list of questions I want to ask, and every time they respond, I'm writing down all these answers to their questions and super detailed notes that ultimately kept me from really connecting with the client. So my tip there is to take the notes that you need to take in terms of, you know, has expressed she would like drawer dividers in the kitchen. Maybe you write something like that down. And then when she talks about her husband and, you know, oh, my husband so-and-so, you ask, what's his name? When she says his name is Ed, you write down husband equals Ed. If she has any kids, you write down their kids' names and you ask for their ages, and you write that stuff down, and then you get back to the consult and you get back to connecting with your client and making them feel like you are 10,000% present on their space. The notes are important, but they're not the most important part of the consult. So my biggest thing that I want to give to you guys is pay attention in the consult with a few notes. But when you finish the consult, when you kill the consult, when you have the client wrapped around your finger, you get in the car and you do the detailed notes. That's when everything that just happened needs to come on paper immediately, because as soon as you get on Facebook, or you drive and you're at a stoplight, or you're in traffic, or you hear your favorite Beyonce song, whatever, that's where the details are going to come out of your brain. So put them down immediately when you finish a consult. If that means scheduling into your schedule, or scheduling into your calendar for that day, that your consult is 60 to 90 minutes, and then you want to spend an extra 10 minutes in the parking spot where you parked in front of their house to take your notes, then schedule that into your day, because it is vital that you do remember the things that your client wants, because that's where you can repeat them back to your client, and they'll continue to believe that you were really listening. You bring up a tiny detail that happened in the consult, you know, down the road, and that means a lot. I mean, think about any time you've had, when I go to the nail salon and they remember that I was one of their clients, or they remember my name, I feel like a celebrity. That goes a really long way with me. That makes me want to come back to the same exact nail technician every time, because it's such a personalized touch. So that's where you want to take your very detailed notes, is not in the house, but in your car after the consult, because when you're in the house, you're 100% committed to connecting with your client and being present. Jay is here. What up, girl? Okay, so my second one. Oh, I meant to run upstairs and grab this, but I didn't get it. So this is something I've been doing recently as I've been selling packages, because there's a lot of different ways to track your packages. For me, again, trial and error. I've tracked them on multiple platforms. I use QuickBooks to create my invoices and send those to my clients. So sometimes I'll go back into the QuickBooks and add that in the memo, or underneath the line items where it doesn't cost anything, but I can include notes of, okay, session 1 was this date, here's what happened, and here's what we did. QuickBooks, for me, I'm looking for a new software to use for my invoicing, because QuickBooks shuts down all the time. It doesn't always save the notes that I made. It takes a long time for me to reopen. So I'm taking suggestions. But if if you get a planner, so I got one at Target, and it wasn't in the dollar section, but it's just a cute planner that has a month at a view, and then it has the flip pages for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they have enough space to take notes. So if I'm taking, I'll use this one for an example. If I've got 2 clients in one day, then I will divide the page like this, and I'll do, okay, this morning I'm seeing Jen, and in the afternoon I'm working with Dawn. And I'll put on there what time I'm working with them and what date it is. I know that it's on there too, but that's easy just for if you have to cross-reference something. And then I'll put what we worked on that day, like what details of what project, what space, what we got rid of. Depending on who the client is, I'll also put how many bags we're donating, because they like to track that information if they want the tax write-off, if they want the receipt from Goodwill and stuff like that. So they'll have that information to write on their receipt. I don't do that part for them. I'll bring them in the receipt, but I'll give them notes about what was on the receipt. And Shannon makes custom planners. That's awesome. That might be a really good resource for somebody. Vivian's here. Hi. Organizing a Day is here. Hello, Alicia. Okay, so in my planner that is specific to sessions, I keep it in my car, right in the little pocket on the side of my door. And that's where I'll take my notes. So then if I know I'm meeting with Jen again in 2 weeks, I'll flip to 2 weeks and I'll write down the things that I'm supposed to bring for that session. If I told her, hey, we're going to work on your pantry, so these are the items that I'm going to bring and I'm going to have those prepared, then I'll reference that at the beginning of the week, in 2 weeks, and then I'll be totally prepared for my session. Instead of, there's a lot of times where I would say, oh yeah, I'll bring that, or I'll look into that later, or I'll da-da-da. And I would say 99% of the time I remembered what it is I needed to do or bring that I promised them I would do. But there's that 1% that falls through the cracks because you don't write it down, or because you're human, or because glitter, Facebook, distraction, whatever it is. It happens, and we're human. So write it down, track your info in that planner, and have it be completely specific to your sessions. So I was saying I've been doing a lot of package pricing, package sessions, selling a lot. I've sold multiple 24 sessions, multiple 12, couple of 8, couple of 4, and then a few single sessions, which is awesome because that's where it's like really high dollar. But I prefer to work with a client long term. So I'm able to go in there and write, this was the first of 24 sessions. This was the second of 24 sessions. So that when my client asks me off the top of my head, hey, what session are we on? Or how many sessions do we have left? Instead of saying, oh, I'll track it when I get home and I'll get back to you. Or, hey, that's on a spreadsheet at home and I'll get back to you. I can say, well, here it is. We're on the third of 24 sessions. We have so much more time. I found that to be really useful because I keep my appointments and I keep personal and business on my phone calendar. It's just a whole lot more work to go through and, okay, open August, open the 8th, scroll through all of those, click, look for the notes. It's a lot more steps on the phone for me. So I like writing it down. And as soon as I get done with the session, I come in and I write what we worked on that day while it's fresh on your memory, because it's very easy for it to escape your memory. Ashley says, Recollections has a great planner that's set up by hours on one side and notes on the other. That's awesome. And there are so many good planners available. Thankfully, getting organized in terms of planning has become very trendy. So there are all kinds of options that can meet your needs for what you're looking for. I just, like for this one, it was very simple what I needed to include. So that works for me. There's plenty of space for me to take my notes. Dawn says, that's an awesome idea. Totally concise and easy to reference. Yeah, it's really good in case like I've had a couple of clients who thought they had more sessions left than they really did. And so I'm not saying like, I'm just going, well, here's what we did on Wednesday. And then we worked a couple of times together in July and we worked on this, this, and this. And every time they go, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. You're right. Okay. I'm so glad you're tracking it because I don't track it. And that's why I have an organizer. Like those words have come out of my client's house. Renee is asking how long my sessions are. So, the sessions that I do, I used to do 4 hours, which for me was still really good. And I was so nervous to cut back to 3 because I always felt like that last hour was when you could wrap up a space and clean it up and still be out the door, after, when it's been perfectly 4 hours instead of a little bit before or a little bit lingering after or whatever. But I've found that with the deadline of 3 hours, I can accomplish the same amount, if not more. And what works better for me with 3 hours is that I can work with 2 sessions a day, so 2 different clients a day. I used to do longer sessions, like I've done 6 hours before. I find that if I'm not working alone, the client gets really exhausted, mentally exhausted. They check out, they get distracted, they have other things that they have to do that day. It's asking a lot for somebody to give you 6 hours of their day. And even for me, it's just nice to sort of move around and change my project and change, organizing can become very the same every, if you're working on an office for 6 hours long, that's one task for a long time. I can do that, but I'm not always going to ask a client to do that. And even though I can do it, it doesn't mean I need to exhaust myself just because I can. So maybe I'll do a pantry job in the morning and a garage job in the afternoon. And I've noticed that it's more exercise for my brain and I'm actually less exhausted. I also get that hour break in between for lunch and for driving and for, podcasts or Beyonce or making a call to my family, whatever that is. It's just nice to have a little bit of time in my day for myself, in case whatever comes up, because life always comes up. So I do 3-hour sessions. And I have a note about that in my time management section too. So I'll get to that here, in a minute. So, I told you that I take my notes in my planner that's specific just for clients. It doesn't have anything else in it. No personal stuff, no whatever else, just clients. And then you also track what package you're on. Okay, so the next thing I do is I track my income now, which I was doing through my QuickBooks, but I wasn't creating a regular spreadsheet that said, okay, I've sold 4 packages or I've sold 8 packages or whatever. Jen gave me an amazing spreadsheet that was an income planner. And I'm able to put it all in there so I can look at a glance at how many sessions I've sold, how much money I've made for each month. That's been incredible. And it's really useful for matching up when you're trying to do your taxes at the end of the year. So another thing I do is as soon as I've completed an invoice and received the payment, I print out the invoice and then I put it in a folder for taxes. You could do this in a digital file on your computer if you prefer that way. I like to have the printout because I can make notes on it that says, maybe I got them supplies, so subtract this amount of supplies that were actually an expense. That does not count as your income. That's an expense. Okay, so tracking my income. The next thing that has been amazing for tracking information that I've changed is that, and you've probably heard this in the group, is changing over to package pricing. It changed my life. It changed my life. And I heard about package pricing for years before I did it. And I didn't get it. And for some reason I didn't want to do it. And I don't know why. I have no idea why, but I didn't want to do it. And I was hesitant to implement it. I think also the fact that many people were creating a discount the more you bought at the time. And I was only selling 1 package at a time. I was thinking, I don't want to discount my service. I do enough to chase down the next client as it is. Like, I don't want to give them anything % off because it's a lot of work to get that client. But the beauty of package pricing is that you get to work with a client longer and you have more sessions on your calendar rather than, okay, we finished 1 session and now I got to chase down the next session, whether it's from you or Joe Schmo. And I also have to have the awkward conversation of asking you for the payment at the end of the session. So this package pricing completely eliminates that. And you only have to do it once. So instead of having, what I wrote was less invoicing, less chasing money, less awkward conversations, more sessions, more money, deeper relationships, and more committed clients. Because when you have somebody who buys 12 sessions, they mean business. They are not there to jack around or see how it works or see if they're interested in working with you. They're like, I need your help today and I'm committing and here's a 4-figure check for this commitment. Okay, let's see. Got some comments here. Lillian says, perhaps you could add the session on your Google iCalendar as Jen, session 3 of 24. Yeah, you can. And I have done that on some and that might work for some people. For me, it's too many back and forth clicking. And the more back and forth clicking I'm doing on my phone, there's text messages coming in, there's Facebook notifications, there's calendar alerts. It's very easy for me to get distracted if I add one more task on my phone. And honestly, I'm so glued to my phone lately that I appreciate what technology can do for us, but I'm liking writing in the planner again. I like being on paper, and I like just having no distraction while I'm processing my thoughts. Because, you know, sometimes when you're on your phone, a text message pops up, and now you're focused on that because your brain attention was pulled away, usually not intentionally. So that keeps me a little more focused on that. But if it works for you, that's great advice, and I think a lot of people would benefit from that. Ashley says, do you set all your sessions with your clients when they sign on, or do you plan session by session? It depends on what I have going on in my life. So I knew that I did a remodel job this summer that I'm still working on. And I love it, and I'm learning a lot. It was supposed to be a 4-week project, and it's turned into about 4 months. So a lot going on there, but I was telling my clients, here's the date that I can start, and here are the days that we can put on the calendar. And then you always want to communicate. Life happens. You can reschedule if you need to, but I usually put them all on the calendar right away, depending on what's going on for me. Emily says, I think Jen's way of doing package pricing just makes way more sense than others I've seen. I don't know why. Simple is better. I agree, Emily. And I think, I couldn't make sense of other people's package pricing. And that's where the masterclass was just very valuable for me, because she broke it down. She broke it down where I needed to hear it in a way that was like, hey, you're still valuable. Here's what this offers to you. And here's what this offers to your client. And everybody's happy. You get more money. They get more organizing. All good things. Rocio says, is it always good to keep your time balanced? Oh, it's always good to keep your time balanced. That way your performance has more quality since you took a break beside sessions. So that is in my next set of notes for time management. So I'll come back to that. Melanie says, do you recommend how many sessions they need after the consult? Yeah, when we do the consult, I don't ever quote a job because you never know. It completely depends on your client's ability to make decisions. So I'm never going to say, oh, 100% this is going to take 4 sessions. I will say, here's what I would suggest. Here's what clients usually pick if they're unsure, or, oh yeah, baby, you're going to need my biggest package. This is going to be a lot of work. So, you'll get, I don't know if you're already working as an organizer or if you're just getting started with it, but you get better at that the more you're in a client's home. Again, I never promise how quickly it will be done, because that's not good for anybody, and you really want to set very realistic expectations. Sandy says, hey girl, glad to have you here. Sarah says amen, but I don't remember what you're amen into. But thank you. That's the problem with reading comments after. I'm sorry. Emily says, anyone who hasn't done the masterclass and is considering it, please do it. I can't rave enough about it. Thank you, Emily. It is awesome. I say thank you, but I thank you because you get the value and I get the value, and I appreciate that another person gets it. There are a lot of people who get it, but Jen created a really awesome course for us. That being said, there is going to be an announcement on Friday, September 1st from Jen with some big changes for the group, so stay tuned for that. I'll mention that again later, but I can't give any more details. Rocio is also a planner girl. Becky says, do you turn your phone off while you're doing a session or silence it? That's a great question. Sometimes it depends on what else I have going on. Like right now I'm doing the remodel job and I'm the project manager for that. So I will keep it sometimes on low volume, but usually on vibrate. And I'll look at some things if I need to, if I know with my contractor that there's a couple things they're going to need my attention for, but I always let him know when I'm going to be in a session, and I tell him I'm not going to be available from 9 to 12. You can call me between 12 and 1, but then I'm busy again from 1 to 4. When my client pays for my time, that is their time. They get all of my attention, and I don't want to be distracted on my phone while I'm in there, other than scheduling the next session or looking at dates for another project they may have. I do my best not to be on my phone while I'm there. I don't turn it off because, emergencies in case they ever happen. So if it does vibrate, I'll look to make sure it's not something pressing. I don't want to get morbid, but I'm like always, my dog is an escape artist and I'm always afraid she's gotten out of the yard and gotten into traffic or something happens with my family. So I don't ever silence it, but I do not give other people attention when I'm at my client's house, because that's the attention that they paid for. Organizing a day said, write on Google Calendar, but I don't want to write as much with the client. I just stop and voice record to take notes later. That's a great idea. That's a really good idea if that works for you. And then you can listen back and transcribe your notes. So Sarah says, amen to writing in a planner sometimes versus phone. But honestly, oh, thank you. Amen to everything you're saying. Seriously though. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. And it feels good to write old school, right? I mean, old school. They don't even teach cursive in school anymore. That's a shame. Okay, so we're moving on to the second topic. The first one I had was tracking information and ways that you can make that more efficient, was the way that it was for me. There were a lot of things I wasn't doing efficiently, but it was trial and error. So those are the things I've learned. The second one is time management. And the first one I have is in all caps, and I wrote over it like 4 times. I say in bold, but I hand wrote it. So it says designate office days. I did not do this in the beginning, and I would give my clients, and I was so grateful for the work in the beginning, and I'm still grateful for the work, but I have a business and it has to be structured and it has to work around what works for me. Obviously, if you're side hustling, you want to be a little more flexible. But I was full time here, and I was giving away every day, and I was busting my butt to get from session to session. I wasn't allowing for enough time between sessions to recuperate and to have some time just to myself to breathe without being in a cluttered situation, which makes my clutter. If I'm not working on the clutter, then it's really loud in my brain. If I'm at a client's house and I get to address that space, then it feels energizing and creative and exciting. But if I'm just going from a cluttered space to another cluttered space without any breathing, that's very overwhelming for my brain and my personality type. So making enough time for yourself, and it's kind of a long way of saying make sure that you have a designated office day, because I was giving clients like, oh, you want to work on Monday? Okay, I'm available on Monday. What time do you want to work? Now I say I take sessions Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 12 or 1 to 4. And those are the times I have available. I do make special exceptions for certain clients. Usually if it's somebody I've worked with before, so I already know it's going to be a productive time if we work in the evening or if we work on a weekend. I usually do not give weekends away because I like to have them available for me time. That's when I spend time with my fiance, my dogs, my family. That's the time I want to have if I want a road trip or whatever. But if somebody is in a bind and they really want me, more importantly, if they ask me with enough notice, then I will give them a Saturday. And again, it's only somebody who I know is going to be committed to that time, who's not going to cancel on me. So if I give somebody a Saturday who I don't know their work ethic yet, and then they end up canceling on me, and I didn't accept someone else's plans, like in my personal life, because I had this session, then that's on me. So I only give that to somebody who I know is going to follow through with that session and who I know is very grateful to have a Saturday session with me. Okay, so designating your office days, because the admin side of it is not fun, but it does pile up. And if you don't make the time for it, it's not going to happen. And it's not something you want to do on your weekends or on your nights or whatever. So just create a time. Maybe it's not a full day, but maybe it's a couple of focused hours that is always going to be when you're at your desk, getting back to emails, doing whatever is in your administrative list of to-dos. So, okay, the next thing I have for time management is adding addresses to your phone calendar and home screen shortcuts. So I put all of my sessions on my calendar, like I told you guys, on my phone, and Google Maps does this awesome thing in Google Calendar where it'll tell you, leave by 6:54 to arrive at Jen's house on time or whatever. So I factor in my traffic time. I also put my session, if our session starts at 9, I put it on my calendar to start at 8:50 so that it factors in that travel time and that I'm there 10 minutes early. And I also know when I'm leaving. If I'm running a couple of minutes behind, it's okay because I've already worked in that flex time. I live in Austin, and Austin is famous for traffic and not planning for growth in the city. And Sarah, you get it, girl. There's traffic everywhere. So I don't let traffic stress me out because I always plan for it. I always have a podcast ready to go, or I enjoy the alone, quiet time in my car. But I'm never leaving allowing enough time of what GPS says, because there's always going to be more time on Mopac, which recently someone told me they call it slow pack. And I love that. I'd never heard that before. So I set it on my home screen too, because if I'm working with a client through multiple sessions, I don't always take the time to include their address on every single session we have booked. So I'll just add a shortcut to my home screen, and I can click on it quickly in the morning, and it already programs it into my map, and here we go. And even though I know where a lot of the houses are, I like to know if there's a slowdown, if there's a car accident, or if there's a whatever, you know, peace of mind. I like to follow the map, even though I know a lot of places in Austin. I know my way around for the most part, but there are a lot of back roads that I don't know because I'm not a local there. So that's been really useful. And I've already told you guys this part, but having set appointment times. So like I said, I don't just say, well, when would you like to work? When would you da-da-da? You want to be structured. You want to come off as a very professional business. So you tell them when you take your sessions. And if you're side hustling, then I take clients on Saturdays from this time to this time. I do consults on Monday from 4 to 8 p.m. I do da-da-da-da-da. Figure out what works for your schedule and then stick to that, because it's important that you make space in your schedule and in your life for your personal time. And what I wasn't doing in the beginning was making time for me. Whenever a client wanted to book with me is when I would book with them. And if they wanted to work 6 hours all the way through, then I would work 6 hours all the way through. And that means by the time I got home, I was starving. I didn't have time to go to the grocery store. I ended up eating something that usually wasn't healthy and wasn't fueling my body to give me the strength for the next day for the client that needed all of my energy and deserved all of my energy and attention. So make sure you plan for that. That's in here in my notes somewhere. There it is. Okay. Space out sessions for personal breathing. So what I mean by that is unless their house just flooded and they need you back to back every day to get it done, then don't book your sessions. If you get one client and it's your first client ever and you've decided to do this full time, don't book them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Number one, it shows all your cards. It shows, hey, I'm completely available. I can come here every day, every hour. I'll be here all the time. They don't need to know that. They need to think you have a full client load. And the other side of that is you need personal breathing room. No matter how much you love to organize, you will exhaust yourself if you do it that much. And they need personal breathing time. You want them to be excited to see you every time you show up. If you're there 5 days a week, you want to wear your welcome out. And organizing is not fun and energizing for everybody. It's clearly not for these clients, or they wouldn't have needed to hire an organizer. So if they have to organize and address their mess every day for 5 days in a row, they're going to be mentally exhausted. They're going to shut down at some point. They're going to, especially if it's an emotional project they're working on, like their parents who passed away, or, unless there's a timeline that you have to get something done, like a fast time limit, then space out your sessions. This gives you an opportunity to prepare for the next session if you need to buy supplies. It gives you your personal breathing room. It gives them their personal breathing room, and it gives you a nice chance to just switch between projects with other clients. So your brain is always being fed with new creativity instead of one personality, one house, one storage problem that you're facing. I find that if there's a space I haven't fully come to a solution for yet, I'll say, you know what? I've seen your pantry space. I've taken the measurements. I'm thinking about what the best solutions are, and we'll come back to it. And then when I've had a couple of days to think about it, it always comes to me. So you don't have to work on a space that you're not ready to work in yet, unless, you just don't have to. Yeah. If you lead the session, they're going to follow that. They want to follow what you tell them to do. They don't want to come up with the plan. Let me get to a couple of these questions. Do you think it's important to set a certain day of the week, like Mondays, or just plan one day a week, whatever, for office? This is Emily's question. I really like having Monday office days, because Monday for me, and I think for most people in the world, is when shit hits the fan. It's the beginning of the week. Kids are getting off to school. They're usually tired from the weekend or staying up late or whatever. So the parents are usually tired from getting the kids up after the weekend. We're out of our routine on Monday morning. So I found that when I've booked a client on Monday morning, they're very frazzled because they are dealing with a case of the Mondays also. So I like Monday to go, okay, it's not the weekend anymore. Get your head back on straight. Look at your schedule for the week. Look at what clients you're going to have for the week. These are the projects I'm working on. These are the spaces. These are the things I need to get before my sessions to be prepared. These are the emails I need to send with the supplies I'm suggesting. If I need to get permission from a client, I'll send them the link and say, here's where I think it's useful. Here's how many I think we need. Wait for their approval. It just is a time to organize your own life. Because you're going to be frazzled on Monday too. And if you're thinking about all the stuff you have to do throughout the rest of the week while you're at your client's house for a 9 a.m. session on a Monday, you're not giving them the attention that their session deserves because you're distracted. And that doesn't mean you're not doing your job well. That just means you need to manage your time a little better, because you can do your job well. You just have to have that time for yourself first. So I really like Mondays for that. Other people may like Friday nights. Some people might like Wednesdays, or whenever the availability in your schedule is. Just make it happen all the time, every single week, because you're always going to have stuff. I also like it for if I'm taking a weekend trip and maybe there's a delay in getting back on if I'm flying or if I'm driving. You never know what's going to happen. So let's say I got snowed in Chicago and I can't be there for my 9 a.m. Monday session. Not a big deal, because I don't schedule 9 a.m. Monday sessions anymore. Or, hey, I want to extend my weekend trip at my parents because whatever, I can, and I can still work from their house and come home late Monday night, or beat the traffic on Sunday by leaving on Monday morning, type of thing, to get back to Austin. It's also really useful, and I've done this a couple of times. If I have a client who is a very loyal client who calls me for a last minute session and they're in a pickle and they really need my help. Pickle, I never say if they're in a pickle. That's so weird that I just said that, but clearly I got food on the brain. Then what I'm trying to say is that I'll give them that Monday session, and I won't give them a whole day, but I'll give them a half day session so I can still get done what I need to do. And then I become the absolute hero for them because, oh my gosh, Layne, thank you so much. You squeeze me into your schedule, and I really appreciate it. And it turns out those sessions are really, really efficient because they are so grateful to have me there. I'm focused on getting a lot accomplished because I have to get back in the office and finish those other items too. It's just nice to sort of have that flexibility because my schedule is pretty booked a lot of the time now. So it's good to have that extra day. Okay, let's see. How do you handle cancellations? This is Renee's question. So Renee, we talk a lot about that in the masterclass and why package pricing is effective and why it's useful to us. But it's amazing to have someone pay up front, because then you're not chasing your money. So then if they cancel, that's okay. That's the luxury of why they paid you up front. We go into a lot of detail about that in the masterclass. And cancellations used to be the death of me because, you lose a lot of money if you were scheduled with one client and planning to get that money for that day or for that week or whatever. It has completely changed the way I feel about people canceling, because life happens and they're going to cancel, and you are either going to be angry at your client for canceling or frustrated at yourself for not handling it better, or not creating a better cancellation. I felt like such an ass charging a cancellation policy. It was included in my contract, and I felt like it was so, these are the consequences if you cancel on me. And I didn't like that, because you want your client to feel like this is an elective service that they want to be a part of, and it's flexible for them. It's a personalized luxury service. It's flexible for you. All I ask in return is that you pay me up front, okay? And then all of the cancellation problems go away. Melanie said, have you canceled on clients like the day before? I recently did this because I realized I priced myself way too low and she lived an hour and a half away. I just realized it wasn't feasible for me to drive out there for the amount I quoted her. Pretty much lost a client, but I felt it needed to be done. Yes, totally trial and error. I have not done that exact situation before. And that's something you won't do again. In that case, I probably would have followed through with that session because that was my mistake. Because you don't ever want somebody leaving a bad review for you. And don't stress about this fact that you did it this time. That's the kind of thing I think about is, I committed to that. I didn't think that one through. I need to follow it through. And if it's just that one session, and you probably didn't sell multiple sessions to her, but I would say, hey, I didn't think this one through, but it was a lot of drive time for me today. So if we end up booking this again, and give her the details, or maybe wait until she reaches out to book you again, and then you can let her know. I would love to help you. I realized that it was an hour and a half of drive time for me. So in order to make this worth my time, here's what I would charge for travel. Would you be comfortable with that? And let her feel like she's a part of the decision too. Julie is here. Hey girl. Sarah said, love that 10-minute flex time built in. Genius. Yes, slow pack. Yeah, I think it's useful to gather your thoughts, or I'm on the phone with my mom a lot when I'm in the car, or anybody in the phone, and it gives me some time to wrap up the conversation instead of being like, hey, I gotta go, I'm in my client's driveway, bye. And sometimes their kids see me in the driveway and they'll come out and talk to me in advance. So that doesn't always work. Sometimes I'll hide at the end of their cul-de-sac until I'm ready to go in. But it's nice to just be there early, because when I'm late to something, I carry that into whatever I'm doing. Doctor's appointment, session with a client, you name it. I am stressed out, and it takes me about 20 minutes to come down from being late. I also feel sick in the car on the way to wherever I'm going if I'm running late. And that is a weird, freaky thing about my personality, but I know it, I acknowledge it, and I plan around it. So that makes me feel better about my weird personality. But you guys get it, because you're weird too. Stephanie says, when do you make time to shop for supplies for your clients? What a great question. That is next on my list. Utilize Amazon Prime. Utilize the technology digital age that we live in. Container Store, I get a lot of great products from. They have a fabulous shipping policy. Once you get past, I think it's $75, you get free shipping, and their products are just so good. What I do, if you're just getting started, you need to go shopping as much as possible to familiarize yourself with products that are available. Touch them, learn if they're durable, try them out in your house, even if what you do is return them at the end, just so you're figuring it out. Bring them home and test them in your own space to see, do they hold up? Okay, is this one worth the $14.99, or should I get the cheaper version on so-and-so website? Sometimes it is worth it getting the cheaper one. Sometimes it's a shit product if you get the cheaper one. So you need to go for the better one, and you need to be able to back that up when you bring a $14.99 drawer organizer to your client and they say $14.99, and you say, listen, this is the best makeup organizer I've ever used because here's what I did with the cheaper ones and here's how it failed me, and I promise you, you will not regret this $14.99. You need to know that. You have to have that experience in order to sell a $14.99 makeup organizer. And it's fun to try them out at your house. Again, even if you return them. So if you don't have a huge budget for testing out products, you can test them in your space and return them to the store, and you've still gained a lot of knowledge. So I utilize online shopping a lot because I have the products that I know I love. I stock up at my house so that I don't have to always wait for the shipment. And then I don't have to stress out about when in the world am I going to fit in. Like, so here's something that happened to me last weekend, right before all the flooding and the hurricane hit and all of that. We got a lot of rain in Austin, and we got some flooding, I think, in certain areas, but I had a Container Store pickup. So a lot of times I'll do pickup at the store. I love that option. And then if you say, so I was getting boot shapers for a closet, and I ordered 30 boot shapers, and I don't even think they have that many in stock usually at the store. So I ordered them in plenty of time, so I didn't really need to have them shipped to my house. I was just going to do pick up at the store because it's free that way. If you don't pass whatever their shipping cost is, so say it was below $75, I can pick it up at the store for free. And then you want to schedule that in for a time that's good for you to do it. This last weekend was sort of a mess up because of all the rain, and I was fitting in a couple of clients before I was leaving town, and then by the time it was time for me to pick it up, I'd gotten all the text messages. Container Store will send you a text message, hey, your order's ready for pickup, but there were all these bad weather alerts too, and just distraction and life. And by the time it was time to go, it was 5:00 p.m. on a Friday, and you do not want to drive from my house to the Container Store on 5:00 on a Friday in Austin. So I ended up having to wait until like 7:30 to go up to where the Container Store is, which is really north from where I live. But it cut my drive time drastically. I just was picking up supplies at 8:30 at night by the time I got home, which is not usually my ideal situation. I want to factor that into my day, where I'm picking it up after I leave a client who lives close up to where a Container Store is. So I'm not wasting time. You want to really strategically plan for when you get your products. And you also want to utilize online shopping because you can get it faster and you can schedule your sessions faster. That's another reason I like to space out my sessions, because then you have enough time to go and get your supplies without saying, well, I worked with her on Monday. I told her I would get these before our session on Tuesday, which means, after yoga and after dinner, I'm not going to be able to go until 8:30 at night, and I'm not going to be home until 9:30, and that's cutting into your personal time. So this is why online shopping or spacing out your sessions or whatever is under the time management category, because running your own business, you will never have time off unless you make yourself have time off. That's another important thing I wrote down, is designate a cutoff time for you for work. My phone goes off nonstop with emails, text messages, Facebook notifications from the group, Pinterest, whatever, you name it. I always want to be working, and because I love what I do, I don't always remember that I'm working, But people in my life will tell me, hey, your phone is in front of your face a lot right now. I would really like to spend some time with you. And I appreciate them telling me that. I want to work towards them not having to remind me that all the time. So I'm implementing a cutoff time of when I get back to clients and when I get back to emails and when I put my phone and my computer down, because it's important to feed yourself, feed your family. And I don't mean just food, like just with personal time and nourishment and self-care and all of those things. It's really, really important for you to not get burned out, is to pay attention to time management. It's really easy to throw yourself into this career all the way and forget that you're not taking breaks because it's fun and because you love it and because you're passionate about it. So make sure that you think about that. Emily, shortcut to your home screen. Explain again. Okay, so this is like when you put your client's address in your map and then you click directions, or it might be before you do directions. There's a button that has like 3 dots on it. I have an Android, so mine might be different if you have an iPhone, which most people have an iPhone. There'll be a button that you click with the 3 dots, click on that, and it will say add shortcut to home screen. If you still don't know what I'm talking about, Google it and it will walk you through the process for whatever device you have. Oh, Darren asked the same question. Okay, so maybe I'll post some screenshots of how to do that, if that makes sense. Do you add travel rate if it's further than where you'd like to travel? Lillian asked that question. Yes, I do. If it's outside of 30-minute drive, I charge half of my hourly rate to and from for each session. So I charge $100 an hour. If it's 45 minutes away from my house, I charge $50 for every session that I drive to their house. And you'd be surprised, the clients will, what I do when I suggest that is I'll say, so I'll let them know how far it is from where I live. Here's what it would cost to work with me. And if I'll usually include, I'm also happy to help connect you with an organizer who lives closer to you. And if they elect to find an organizer who works closer to them, I will do the groundwork to find that organizer for them. I will reach out to that organizer and tell them I have a client available for them. I will give them a few details about their project, but not their name and not their address, only that they're in their location. Ask them if they're interested, and when they say yes, I say, here's my referral fee. Then you make some money on the client because you have put some time into the client. It's not stealing it. It's not being greedy. You have put some time into that client, and you're helping them and you're helping the client. So you deserve to be compensated for that. Sarah says, do you set certain times for your consultations too and offer certain times to your clients, or let them pick the consultation time? I usually like to do consults. It depends on what availabilities I have in my schedule that week. I usually like to do them on Mondays when I'm in the office. So I'll set them for early afternoon, depending on their schedule too. I'll say, I have Mondays available for consults. What's a good time for you? So I'll usually have a call with Jen to talk about Pro Organizer Studio stuff, and I won't schedule a session for that time, but I'll do it for the morning or I'll do it for the afternoon. There are a couple of set things I do every Monday that I don't schedule it for, but who knows, if they're dropping off their kids and it's easy for them to meet, you know, at 8:30 when their kids are gone, that's when I want to meet with them, rather than at 4:30 when all their kids are running all over the house and it's very hard to keep their attention. I'll be a little flexible on that one. And same for people who work full-time. If they need to meet after working hours, I'll do that. But again, I try to keep that just on Mondays so I can always go to the same yoga class I want to go to on Wednesdays at 5:30, that kind of thing. That keeps me in a more regular routine, which keeps me happy with my clients and with all the things you have to manage. If you don't make time for yourself, it will affect you and your people will be able to tell. Heidi says, I think I almost put my mother-in-law in a coma by trying to organize faster than she could process. She's very emotional with her stuff. So yes, breathing space is so important. Oh yeah, Heidi, that is, that's something that I've had somebody say to me before, where they'll ask me to slow down. Jen has talked about this too, where they'll say, I need to go a little slower. And in some ways, it's a huge compliment to you because you are trying to make the most effective use of their time. But some people want to go slow. Some people really want to break it down and they want to talk about it and they want to make small, what seems to you like small little bits of progress could be really large for them. So that's important in asking what your expectations are. Do you have other POs who work with you? Yes, I recently got my first subcontractor. Woo woo! And I'm looking for others in the Austin area. So far so good. I've really been loving it. And that's awesome for jobs that want to get done faster, or, you know, handing off jobs to other people and still collecting some money from what they do. Danielle offers an awesome course about how to hire subcontractors. Excuse me, I'm a little thirsty. And thanks for all the love. Thank you guys. Emily says, I'm curious about when you do your consults. Yeah, I don't do them in my 9 to 12 or my 1 to 4 slots. You have convinced me to have my office days be Monday. In like 2 sentences. Yeah, girl. Yeah, my sentence is Monday's shit hits the fan. I'm sorry it ain't pretty, but it's true. It's true. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow, I'm really far behind y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. Sandy says she loves my clear-headed way of thinking. Thank you for saying that. I feel so often like it's like this up there. Makes sense to me, but I don't always know if it makes sense when it comes out verbally. So that means a lot. Thank you. Severe anxiety when I'm late, Heidi. Me too, me too, me too. And Dawn feels that too. Noelle says, thanks for sharing all your knowledge and experience with us. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I found that it was competitive in other organizing markets, and I did not like that. I'm all about collaboration. I'm all about sharing experience to improve experience, and I'm really happy that we can do that here. Would love to watch you do a vlog on what organizing products you use in your own home. Oh, Darren, that's a good one. Okay, that is a really good one. Please send me a private message about that to remind me, and I will see if I can work that into a Facebook Live. That sounds really awesome. Mindy needed that pep talk. I'm glad you got it, girl. Keep asking, and I'll always give them to you. Julie says, I absolutely love what we do, so I feel like sometimes I'm doing pro bono work. That is true. Make sure that you keep it within the scope of your pricing, and if you offer package all-inclusive pricing, then yeah, girl, do the work at home, but do it on the time that works for you. You don't have to work 24 hours, and your clients don't expect you to. We want to overproduce for them so that they're happy with our service, but if they get it on Tuesday at 9 a.m., they're still going to be happy. They don't have to have it on Monday at 11 p.m. Whatever it is that you're providing for them. Stephanie says, would you keep a stock of your favorite products if you didn't live close to the store that sells it? Not a huge amount. I live in a small town with not many options around me to buy products and not a lot of online stores to buy from. Yes, Stephanie, I do keep that in my garage. I have a rack in there of products that I love to use that I pull from, and occasionally I'll keep some of them in my car if I know we're working on a particular project that day, but they haven't said that they wanted supplies or they didn't want a lot, or they said, oh, let's see what we need after we do it. Depending on the client, I'll say, hey, I've got my favorite bins in my car. Let's see how they work in this space. If you want them, then you can have them, and I'll charge you for these. But you don't have to use them. I just have them because I love them, and that's how much I believe in their organizing power. Okay, Lillian says, thanks for the mileage rate comment. I'm trying to wrap my head around how to factor in traffic because Seattle, for instance, Seattle to the city of Kirkland would normally be about 30 minutes, 30-minute drive, 17 miles, but who knows, around 9 a.m. could take up to an hour. Yeah, so that's a really good thing to test out on your days off maybe, or maybe don't schedule a session for a Wednesday if you need to figure out what traffic is like on a work day. I think Jen does up to 30 miles outside of her radius, but 30 miles in Austin could be a really long drive. So I do 30 minutes of drive time. And you're very, very welcome. That's something to test out and sort of experiment on your own. There's an awesome feature on Google Maps that I think you can do it on your phone too, but I do it on my computer. You can do arrive by. There's an option that says like other details when you're mapping out your travel for the day. You can put in, I want to arrive by 9 a.m. and it will tell you traffic usually takes between 45 and 51 minutes or whatever, because you can put the time and the date. So for instance, it's really different on the weekend than it is on a work day during rush hour. Emily, it froze on your end. Try to restart and get back on here, girl. Okay, so I'm going to get back to my things and I'll come back to the questions at the end. So we went through having set appointment times. That gives you time in your own schedule. Buying supplies online and using Amazon Prime. Designated office days, adding addresses to your home screen, the shortcuts. Using a planning project management tool like Asana to break down session goals. This was really big because when I go in, I learned about Asana through Jen. When I go into my sessions, I know I don't always have to have a plan. I know what I'm going to be able to take care of, but my clients don't know that. They're not in my brain. They don't know my process. They don't know whatever that is. So if I know we scheduled 12 sessions and I know that these are the expectations they have, these are the things they want to get done, then I'll go into Asana or another type of project management tool, and I'll break down the projects by sessions and let them know what we can realistically accomplish. And then you'll go in and edit it and say, okay, today we worked in the closet and we wanted to get through 75% of the items, but we only got through 25% of the items because it was really emotional for her or whatever. So I'll say, realistically, we're going to need another session for this space because we thought we were going to be able to knock it out in one, but I think it's going to take more like 2. So that's important to just, your client doesn't have to work with you on Asana, but it's useful for you. Like some people, virtual organizing wise, are going to want that. That's a great tool for virtual organizing. But if for your own structure, I think it's good to have a plan of what space you're going to work in, because if you give your client too much freedom, like, oh, whatever you feel like we'll work on Monday, it can become distracting. Some clients will want that, but it can become distracting and it can be a little less efficient if you just jump around rather than saying on Wednesday we're working in the playroom, which means I'm going to bring supplies for the playroom so that we can accomplish that space and be done with it and move on to your closet. Instead of like, oh, well, we've done the playroom, but we can't really put it all together because we didn't get those bins we talked about getting, so we'll come back to it on Thursday. And it's just like working in the same space twice is kind of a waste of your client's time. You want to knock it all out in one time as much as you can. Or maybe you have to break it up into a couple because it's a large space. But I find Asana useful to manage expectations for what we're going to get through, and also be able to check on it that week and say, here's what we're going to work on. If my client wants to know, I can shoot that information to them. Talked about breathing room. Here's a big one. Create a customizable template for your template or template. I don't know why I said template, but it's template, right? Right? Give me some likes. Creating a customizable template for emails after you get an inquiry online that breaks down your process. So people are going to email you, hey, I'm Emily, and I've got an office that really needs organizing, and I'd like to start around this time. When can you come? And you're going to send thank you for the likes. You're going to send an email that says, so glad you reached out. The next step is we're going to schedule a phone consult. Please send me a couple of times that you're available to chat on the phone. We'll go through the process. We'll talk about some pictures. We'll set expectations. That's an email that you want to include a lot of information because you want to get back to that client as soon as possible too, because chances are they're looking at a couple of organizers because they're ready to start their project. So the sooner you get back to them from when they submitted their inquiry, the sooner or the more likely it is that you're going to get that client. But it takes time to write that email, and say you're gone for the weekend when you get that email. If you have a saved template of what to write that you can jump in and customize a couple of things, like, add their name at the top, obviously, add what their timeline is and what their spaces are, then it's really easy to just input that customizable info and send it off, because it's pretty much the same information every time. So keeping yourself from having to write that email every single time and just save it as a draft, copy and paste, saves a lot of time and helps you get to that client really quickly without having to say, oh, well, I'm at dinner with friends, I can't focus on that right now, I'll get back to her later. That's wasted time. And maybe you should focus on dinner with your friends, but I would be like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom really quick. Go customize that template, send it, and come back, because then I can focus with my clients. So I'm getting a lot of likes on that one. I'm guessing people like that one a lot, or maybe, I don't know, sometimes the likes are delayed after what you say. I do not know. Okay, let's see. Now we are moving on to communication, which I think is the biggest, most important. It is 8:05. I'm going to try to wrap this up by 8:30. So I'm going to power through and I will come back to the questions. I'm all about pre-planning general emails to copy and paste and customize. Emily, yeah, I bet you are. She came from an office assistant job or office management job, so you probably had to write a lot of the same emails a lot. Okay. One of the things about communication, which I sort of touched on in time management, but it's really easy to go into a client's home and they're like, here's all of my mess. Here's everything that has to be accomplished. I know that I can accomplish all of it. I know I can get your space in order. Very few times have I felt like this is going to be very tricky, but it has happened. What's important, if you're going to say, absolutely, we can take care of this, absolutely, I can help you do this, if you're going to say those words, you got to back it up with information. Absolutely, I can help you tackle this space if I can have your full and complete focused attention while we're working in our sessions. Or if you give me complete creative power to do what needs to be done, to buy the supplies, to da-da-da-da. You have to set realistic expectations with your client. If you say, absolutely, we can take care of this, and then you get in the session and they're distracted and they're on their phone and their kids are always there and you're not following up with them, like saying, hey, Jen, I do feel like we can really get through this space, but we need to reevaluate our expectations because your kids are a big interruption in every one of our spaces, every one of our sessions. I feel like we could get a lot more done if you would go back to your original commitment of having your kids, either focused on giving them an activity, because they can't always get a sitter. Some people can, but give them an activity and commit to it and be diligent with them about, right now I'm working with Layne, because I don't think we're going to be able to get through this space by the time that you want to if I can't have that commitment from you. Set realistic expectations. Don't make them think you're going to be able to come in there in one session and change their house, because that's going to look like a failure on your part. You need to be realistic with them about what can actually happen in a session, and you need to give them feedback at the end of sessions too. Like, next time, if you want to get through your bathroom in one session, if you want to get through all your bathroom cabinets in one session, we need to get rid of more than we did in today's session. Only if you want to finish it by one session, you need to downsize on the things that you have toiletry wise, or whatever the space is. Just be sure you're continuing to communicate with them and updating them with expectations based on what you're seeing, or letting them know what things need to change. In return, you need to be able to ask for feedback. Was this a good session for you? What was useful today about how I worked with you? What could I do better to help you work through your process? Sometimes they may not know. Just being there with them, and they're not alone in doing this, whether it's emotional or just overwhelming for them, is enough. But asking for the feedback, it lessens the blow if you're telling them, I need you to put your phone down during the session. It lessens the blow of feeling like you're criticizing them and saying, what can I do better? Like, what else would you like from me? Do you need me to be harder on you on getting rid of stuff? Do you want me to walk you through what you're feeling about each item that's difficult to get rid of? Stuff like that. Setting realistic expectations is going to make you more of a professional. No, that sentence didn't finish out correctly, but it's going to make you more professional if you can continually update those expectations, because they know what they're getting, instead of saying, oh, well, she failed, or we failed, or anything negative that would reflect you, your business, your ethic, whatever, your work ethic. Another one on communication is to email regularly with updates on the project summaries, stuff like that. Say, hey, Sarah, today we tackled X, Y, and Z. In our previous sessions, we've tackled the garage, the pantry, and the attic. I just want to say we're doing such a great job. I can't wait to get to your closet. I can't wait to get to your kids' playroom. We're going to get to your kitchen too, and here's the dates that I have those scheduled in, da-da-da. Just continually updating them so they know that you're thinking about their project more than just when you're at their house. And then a side note to that is following up after difficult sessions. Sometimes you'll have a really emotional session with a client where I've had a lot of people cry in sessions because we're going through stuff that's emotional for them, or that brings up a lot of bad memories that's related to things in their past. And that's where you don't want to get too personal with some businesses, but that is not the case with this business. This is a one-on-one relationship with somebody who has invited you into their home to go through the most intimate aspect of their life, which is their belongings, their family, their routines, their habits, their things. This is very personal, and you need to be comfortable with being personal with people, whether that's sharing details about your life where you see fit, or following up with them on a personal level. So if you've had a session where somebody cries, you need to make a note to follow up with them in a couple of emails, or what I do is text messages, and I'll say, hey, Sarah, I just wanted to follow up with you from last Wednesday to see how you're doing. I know that was an emotional one for you. You are such a rock star. I'm never going to leave you to do this on your own. I'm with you every step of the way. And if you need to break down again, I'm going to be right there holding your hand. I'm not going to leave you. We're going to power through this session. or we're going to go really slow. Whatever you need, we're going to accomplish what's good for you, and we're going to take it at the rate that works for you. Following up is big, because a lot of times if they do break down in a session, they are going to feel embarrassed at some point. No matter how comfortable you made them feel during the crying, they're going to feel embarrassed, and they might follow up with an apology text message. Your goal is to beat them to that message, make them feel comfortable, make them feel that was not a big deal at all. I'm here for you. I get it. And then relate to them. It's emotional for me too to go through my stuff. I need a professional organizer to go through my own stuff. I'm being that person for you. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to feel vulnerable this time and next time. And I'm there with you. That's important. It's important to somebody, because I think about times where I've gotten emotional in therapy, and that's common, right? But my therapist will reach out to me and say, just wanted to check in and see how you're doing this week. I know our last session was a rough one, but you made incredible progress. You figured out this, and this about yourself, and you realized what you should do to change it in the future, or, help with your patterns, or what to do differently with your boundaries. If you're not seeing a therapist, go see a therapist. It's amazing. It's better than dumping all your crap on your friends and family and your partner. Okay, so we talked about following up after difficult sessions. Another thing I really love to do, my phone has an option to schedule text messages. So if somebody is texting me really late at night, this one kind of goes into time management and communication, but if somebody's texting me really late at night about something, or texting me while I'm on vacation, I usually will still get back to them if I'm on vacation, but the people that text me at 10 o'clock at night, or even at 8 o'clock and I'm doing something else, I want to get back to them. I know I'll forget if I put it off, so I'll write a text message to them. I'll write a response, and I have an option on my phone to schedule it to send at a time that I choose. So I'll say, here's my response to Joe Schmo, send at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow, so that it sends during office hours. And it also teaches that client, I will always get back to you, but I'm not going to get back to you at 10 p.m. And I think I've talked about this before in another Facebook, but another way that I utilize that scheduling program is at the beginning of the week on my Mondays, then I will go through my schedule of who I'm seeing that week, and I will schedule a text message to send to every client based on, like, one client I have, I know that she is on top of her game. She works her ass off with me in every session right beside me. She works as hard as me, if not harder. And she's 65 years old. That girl, I say girl because she acts like a very young woman. She runs up and down the ladder. She goes up and down the stairs. She is probably stronger than me. I can't believe her effort, and I match it every time. But I know she's on top of her game. I know that if I'm seeing her on Friday, I can text her on Monday to send out a text message, hey, I'll see you for our session on Friday where we're going to work in your garage, and she will remember it. So I can schedule that to send on Tuesday or whatever time. I can send it right away. But I have another client who doesn't remember anything unless it hits her right before it happens. So I'll send her a reminder 2 days before our session, and I can schedule all of this so I only have to do it on Monday. I don't have to remember to do it every day during the week. I'll say, hey, Sarah, sorry, Sarah, that I keep using your name, but you're on my mind, so I'm just using you and Jen as my example clients. Hey, Sarah, I can't wait to see you on Wednesday. We're going to tackle your office. It's going to be so great. I'll send that on Monday. On Tuesday, I'll send another one, but I've actually scheduled it and done it on Monday. It'll send Tuesday morning. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. It's going to be so great, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to add in there. Obviously, I don't say it's going to be so great. And then Wednesday morning, I will send one. See you at 9, exclamation point, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. That gives this client the opportunity to wake up and get out of bed on that day. But it's useful, and she loves it. And she's always like, I totally forgot. I'm so glad you messaged me. That's really useful. You only have to do it once on Mondays, and it helps you know who you're going to see that week and get prepared. And it also gives people the opportunity who don't plan as well to go, oh yeah, our session on Wednesday, I have to cancel. I'm sorry, something else came up. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. And then you can say, oh, that's okay. No problem at all. And it's Monday when you're getting that message. You have time to book another client for that day that they're canceling. That is so much better than them canceling the day of or the day before and you having to scramble to reschedule a client in that time slot. So I love that feature. I'm sure iPhone has it too, but definitely Android does have it. Okay, here's another one for communication. Celebrate progress and small wins with a personal touch. So that can be an email, that can be a text message, that can be a thank you card, or just a handwritten letter in general. I love the power of handwritten letters, and I will send somebody especially if they've signed up for 24 packages with me, or 24 sessions with me. That's a long working relationship. And we're actually creating we're creating organized spaces every time that we work together. But I want them to know I'm excited about continuing to work with them, and I want them to know how much progress we're making. So I'll send them a note and say, Sarah, congratulations. We have worked through your pantry, your crawl space, your closet, and your attic. And we are only 4 sessions in. I can't wait to continue working with you. Handwritten, send it in the mail. They get it, you forget about it, and then they text you, call you, email you, hug you at your next session, whatever it is when they see you. And they're like, thank you for the acknowledgement. My husband thinks we're, husbands and other people in general don't always see the progress you're making, but you see it and they see it, the little progress. They see the big progress. But when you're chipping away at a project, giving somebody a little bit of praise for the small wins or for the emotional moments or for the difficult sessions goes a really long way in you becoming a friend to them, a trusted person in a place where they can be vulnerable, and know that, because who doesn't like to get praise? Like, it feels good to get praise no matter what. Like, hey, you did a great job today. Even if it's for tying your shoes or for waking up in the morning, it still feels good, and you don't know what they're going through that day when they receive your letter. It feels great to get praise for whatever you're doing. So create some sort of personal touch to give them a celebration for the progress in their project, big or small. Okay, another one, this is communication on your side, and this is asking for feedback. And I touched on this earlier, but I'm talking specifically about asking for feedback from your clients after you've worked with them, sending an email and just saying, I've created a brief survey, and you can make it anonymous if you want, but I've created a brief survey to help me understand my clients' needs and help me improve my process. I would love if you could take a couple of minutes to let me know what you liked about my service, what you would like to see different, what I could do better, and maybe what you might be looking for in the future if you wanted to hire me again. It is very important that you make yourself available to criticism and that you learn how to receive it. That is not an easy thing to do for anyone. It's especially not an easy thing for me to do, but it's important to ask for it and to create an avenue where your client can be honest with you, because it's your business. They know that it's going to be sensitive for you because it's your baby. But if there is something they feel like you could do better and they might want to share it, if you give them the opportunity to do that, they will know you are committed to creating a better experience for your client and for future clients in your business. Okay, the last one I have is communicate. When you send that first email, when you get an inquiry from your website about somebody wanting to work with you, the first thing you want to say is, hey, Emily, I'm so glad you've reached out. I'm so excited to help you get to work on your office project. I've attached my information guide or my contract or whatever you want to call it. Please review and let me know if you have any questions. It will break down every step of what it's like to work with me throughout this process. Also, please, on page 3, please check out my costs and my package pricing structure so that you can be familiar with what I offer as services and what the hourly rates are. You do get discounts the more packages you buy, blah, blah, blah. Make sure to say that right off the bat, because just because somebody's contacted you on your website does not mean they took the time to look at your prices or look at your rates or look at your whatever. So point it out and send it very casually and just be upfront with your payment. Don't be awkward with your payment. You are providing a service for somebody. That kind of also, this is not something I really have written down, but if somebody's asking you to do more work than what is in your contract. So if you've already finished and they ask you for so-and-so or, whatever, don't feel uncomfortable to let somebody know. I would love to do that for you. That doesn't include our original scope of work. So that would be an additional da-da-da-da. Like if they want to use, I've had a couple of clients lately who want to gift their sessions to somebody else, one of their friends, if they bought a package. And I did it once for somebody who was totally in a bind. Their really good friend was getting two of her nieces and one of her nephews was coming to live with her because her brother went to prison and has 3 kids. And she had to create a space for those kids to live in her home. And I did that one for her. And you can do this, case by case basis. But it's not something I generally want to do. If you want to give something to your friend, I would request that you buy a separate single session for them rather than gifting them one of your sessions, because that's still time for you to do the consult. still time for you to learn somebody else's house, to create a relationship with somebody else. It could be further away in terms of distance and driving. So I don't like for people to utilize their packages and give them away as gifts. That's a lot more work for you. So include that in your verbiage and let them know these sessions are for you. They're not transferable. And if it's beyond the scope of your original contract and they say, hey, I want to give a session to one of my friends, you can say, yeah, you can do that. Here's my individual session rates. And if maybe you want to buy, I don't know, you could work that out for what works for you. There's a couple options there. So, all right. And then, I do have one more. Be open to changing and evolving. If you get different feedback, or if you find out that something else works better for you, or you want to include something else in your services, then do it. It's a totally personalized service, and you want your customers and clients to feel like you can adapt to whatever it is they need. So don't be so stuck in your ways that you're not open to new projects or new times that you might do sessions or different forms of communicating. If they really want to do virtual organizing and maybe you haven't done it before, you can express to them, if you're comfortable with it, you can say, you're my first virtual organizing client, but if that's what you want to do, I'm 100% willing to figure it out with you, help you accomplish your space or whatever it is. Just be open to changing if you feel comfortable with it and if you feel it would be beneficial for a client. So that is everything that I have. Let me look back at what some questions are here. Okay, Emily. Oh, it unfroze. Good. Thanks so much, Layne. It's from Stephanie, for all the great info you're providing. I'll have to finish watching tomorrow. I'm glad you found the group too. Ariana said, when you're doing the project, you always do it together with your clients, watching what you're doing, or you do the job and they come see when you're done, ask more questions. Oh no, it's totally not a silly question at all. And I'm glad you're new at this, and I'm glad you found this group. It's not a silly question at all to ask whether they work with you or if you work alone. That's totally up to you. I offer working completely alone if that's something they want me to do. I love working alone. I love working with clients too, but I really love working alone because there's no micromanaging. There's nobody looking over your shoulder. You don't have to get every decision you make approved. You just say, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm the expert and I'm going to be your magical organizing fairy. And when you come home, your space is going to be done and I'll explain it to you. I'll tell you what it's like, but you can give that person the option. Do you want to, that's something you establish in your consult. Do you want to work with me or do you want me to simply do it all for you? That's part of the customizable, personalized service that we offer, that you can, there's not just one way to get the organizing done. They can work with you sometimes, and sometimes you work alone. They can work with you for half the session or for none of the session. It's really whatever you want to do. Okay, Emily. Oh, I saw that one already. Okay. Geraldine, I love getting feedback. It will only make you better. That's right. That is right. And that's a great attitude to have about it. Julie says she needed to hear that about being comfortable with being personal. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to overshare your stuff in a session, but if they are asking about your life and you feel like you need to relate to them on a certain level, or if you simply want to relate to them, then do it. You don't want to take over on only talking about your problems and only talking about your love life and your whatever. Mostly ask them questions, but a way to make somebody feel comfortable in a relationship is to share your vulnerability, which gives them the comfort to do the same. I tend to do that first. I tend to show my vulnerability first so they know it's a safe place to share their own. Because in a lot of ways, we are therapists and people love that. Okay, genuinely care. That's right, Misty. Emily says, I don't know how to find a good therapist. Worst fear is having to get to know several people to find the right fit. Okay, the most wonderful thing about therapy is that a lot of therapists offer a free consult where you can go in there, tell them what you're looking for, and see if you mesh for the first 30 minutes or so. Sometimes they do it on a phone consult, but you know what? If you have to go to a couple of free consults with a therapist to figure out who's your perfect fit, it is a really good use of your time. And it's okay to switch therapists too. All of those are good things, and I really encourage it. Emily, do you ever ask if they like reminders or not? Yeah, some people would really like them. You can totally customize that and say, would you like me to send you this, this, and this? Would you like me to send you summaries? She doesn't want to assume and then them think I think they're dumb. No. If that's just really you following up, and you can even put in the email, hey, I just want to let you know, these are the things we're working on this week. Just want to remind you that we're going to work on X, Y, and Z, and I'll see you on Wednesday. People like that. I mean, I love when somebody calls from the dentist to confirm that I have an appointment on Wednesday, because sometimes I forget. And even if I don't forget, I'm like, yep, I'll be there. Can't wait to see you. I really appreciate that. That's so cool that your phone can schedule texts. Android 1, iPhone 0. Sarah, I didn't know that iPhones didn't do that. I wonder if there is an app that you can integrate with texting for iPhone. I'm going to have to Google text scheduling on iPhone because I don't see it on my thing. Emily said. Alicia joined us. Virtual is so much fun. Dawn's been killing it she's been working with a virtual client. Ariana says, thank you. You're very welcome. I like saying your name, Ariana Gaviero. Ariana Gaviero. That's very pretty. I think I'm saying it correctly. I'm still scared of virtual, says Emily. I'll have to get out of my head and thinking if I'm going to Pinterest it anyways, isn't that what they're going to do? You would think, but people like you to give them step by step. Dear Emily, love Layne. Even if it's the same information you found on Pinterest, they love that it's personalized. They didn't have to search for it. They didn't have to weed through the information. Practice with your friends. If you want to practice with me, you can virtually organize my office closet because it's something else. That I can formulate the plan with all the puzzle pieces. That's right. Helena, if they're working alone, do you decide what they would need to purge then? I make suggestions and I'll ask them in the beginning. If I see something with stains, if I see something that looks too small or looks a little old or da-da-da. But sometimes, like if you're working in a closet and you create an organized closet for them, once it's organized and they don't have to dig through all the shazah, they can go through and say, okay, here's all my white shirts together, here's all my pink shirts together, and they can go through once they're organized and go, I have 18 white shirts, and these are my favorites, so I'm going to get rid of this one, and this one. Or, oh, now that I can see them all together, this one looks yellow now, I'm going to let that one go, and da-da-da-da. A lot of people do that after the fact of closet organizing for me. Once they can see what they have, they go in and take out what they don't want anymore. Sandy says, do you get organizing tips and ideas from somewhere, or do you have naturally organizing creativity? It's all up here, girl. I do use Pinterest if there's something that stumps me, or I use the group a lot to utilize ideas, and just reading through people's questions, even if it's not something that's pertinent to your life right now, reading through their questions and learning is awesome. And reading through a Container Store catalog just to see what they have available. Or trying, the best way to do it is focus on spaces in your house that need improvement and figure out what works for your space. And then that's how you'll start to gain some knowledge and experience there. Or ever if you're in a hotel or a rental property or your friends or family's house, ask them if you can do it for them. And not in a judgy way, just in a way so you can help learn how to strengthen your info. Last question from Emily. What's your nail color and brand, girl? This is SNS. It's like that same, sometimes people call it the dipping powder. So it's hard and it's like an acrylic type nail, but they dip it in powder and it's just so easy and so fast. I've got really, sorry, it's blurry. I've got really thin and brittle nails. And if I don't have something on top of them when I'm working with my hands, it will split my nail up this way vertically. And then anytime I run my hand through my hair, whatever, hair will get stuck in there and it's incredibly painful. So part of why I do it is for functionality. The other part of it is for maintaining my brand. If I'm selling that I'm organized and put together and I'm going to help you become organized and put together, I need to show up to your house and look like I take care of myself. That doesn't mean you need to pay for a weekly manicure or whatever. I get these done about every 2.5 weeks. Maybe it just means that you make sure your nails are clean, or, manicure them yourself at home, something like that. But it's important that you reflect what you're selling. If you pull out your work bag and it's a hot mess, they're not going to want you to organize for them. So make sure that you have all that stuff lined up. Julie, thank you so much for teaching us all the things. Seriously, you rock. Thank you. That feels amazing to hear. Dawn says, I'm down for that. I love a closet. Yep. Cool. It's a bunch of random stuff, so I would really need some help in there. Cynthia says, you're glowing. Thank you. That's because my wine is heating up my cheeks. Lillian says, thank you for taking the time out of your vacation to talk with us and impart your wisdom. Thank you. I can hear Jeremiah upstairs stomping his feet because he's ready for me to be done. Ashley loves SNS. Not David, but Rocio. Thank you so much. Taking notes, wonderful information. Really appreciate it. Shannon says, agree. Just got my nails done. Updated my work wardrobe. That's awesome. I have a pretty set work wardrobe too. I wear a white t-shirt pretty often. Old Navy. All my things are from Old Navy because then I don't care if they get stained or if they shrink or they whatever. Dawn says, I got you, girl. Thank you so much, everybody. It is 8:31. That's a pretty good accomplishment if I set the goal for 8:30. The original goal was 8, but I didn't tell you guys that. So a lot of good information. The main 3 points are tracking information, time management, and communication. I love sharing with you guys. I love that when I get a topic to speak with you guys about, I get to brainstorm and I get to really reflect on what my own experience is as an organizer and go, oh shit, yeah, that was a really good change that I implemented. I can't wait to share it with all the girls. Sometimes I forget that there are things I changed because you got to keep rocking and rolling. And it was a really awesome topic to reflect on. There are a lot of ways to always improve and get better. And I also want to encourage you guys to ask the group and utilize the group. Do not feel ashamed if you think your question is silly or stupid, or if maybe you're struggling because you haven't gotten your first client. Don't be ashamed to ask for help, or I know it can be intimidating when some people are sharing their success stories. Do not be intimidated, because everybody didn't succeed right off the bat. Everybody started from somewhere, and they could tell you, yo girl, I know what you're feeling because I went through that when I didn't have clients and I was twiddling my thumbs at home wondering if I should get a different job. Post as much as you want to post. Emily, don't worry about clogging up the feed. You ask really valuable questions, and I promise you there are people in the group that are not posting questions and they are still benefiting from the questions you ask and the responses that everybody jumps in and gives. So much information. I love this group and everybody in it. Thank you guys for all of the love on the way out. Hope you all have a great night. Holla.